I started my career in the late 40s when I saw my first professional puppet show, which was a production of Jack and the Beanstalk, coincidentally. And my older brother, took me to see this show at the museum. We went backstage afterwards and met the puppeteers. It was Ellen and Romaine Proctor, who were very famous puppeteers at the time. And I can remember, I know it sounds corny, but I can remember walking backstage and just taking my breath in. This years before we ever had a television set. And I looked around, I saw the marionettes hanging on the bridge and the scenery and the props on the floor. And something inside of me says, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. And every year they would come back to the museum and I would go see them and take them my new creation. And they would critique it, and they were very sweet to me. Years later, we became friends. Does anybody know about Hazel marionettes?
I do.
Yeah.
I read the book that he wrote the intro for.
You read the book? Well, her factory was in Kansas City, and she manufactured these little toy marionettes. And when I finally put a show together in high school, I was about 15 or 16 years old, I guess, or maybe younger, 14. People would call Hazel's shop to see if she would do a show at birthday parties, and she didn't do that, and she would always have them call me. And because she thought I was using her puppets. Well, I was learning how to make my own at the time, and I didn't always use her puppets, but she kind of got me started on the road to professional career. Then after I got out of high school, I went to New York, and I worked for several companies in New York. And I worked for Sid Marty Croft for 7 years. HR Puff and stuff, you've heard of them. And I worked with Bill Baird for a number of years. Bill was my idol and my teacher and my mentor and good friend. And the building, he had a little theater in the village. The building is now a city monument. They've turned it into duplex apartments on each floor. But that's where his theater was. And it was such fun working on in Bill's workshop there. And then I did a TV show called Howdy Doody, which a lot of you are too young to remember. Oh, we have a miniature lunchbox. This is the door prize. I'm going to pass this around and have everybody take a number. And you'll get there's some numbers, since I take a number and pass it around. And I did Howdy Doody from, not the original, but the revival, which was done in the late 70s. And
Take a number.
yeah, take a number, John. Everybody take one. But when I started working with puppets, marionettes at that time was the Cadillac of the industry. This was years before the Muppets were on TV. And mainly Bill Baird and his wife were on shows like Your Show of Shows and the Gary Moore Show and Ed Sullivan. They were on every show that came out of New York.
Shirley Temple.
And
Do they do like variety numbers?
they did variety numbers, yeah. And then Bill had his own TV Bird Show, which was one variety number after another. It was a short. It was on 2 days a week. It was a 15-minute show, and I used to not go to school. I'd go to the furniture store down at the corner and watch the billboards. I always got in trouble because I was skipping school at the time. Let's see. Well, does anybody have any questions you want to ask about puppets or?
Curious, I know marionettes are your specialty, but have you done other styles of puppets as well?
Oh yeah, I've done my share of all of it. I've done hand puppets, rod puppets, and all kinds of puppets. But marionettes were my favorite. And marionette fairy tales is like with the Pinocchio show here. I wanted to keep alive the kind of shows that I saw when I was a kid, and that excitement that I felt going to my first puppet show years ago, even before the days of television. And I've worked in TV, not only Howdy Doody, but I've done other television shows too. But I always like to do marionette shows, story marionette shows, because that's the dying art, and there's not too many people left that are doing it. Oh, speaking of dying, I hate to interject this, but you knew that Norma Bigler passed. Norma was a puppeteer from the west coast of Florida, and she had her own puppet company for a while there, Puppetry Center, and she'd been plagued with all kinds of illnesses the last several years, and she finally had to close her doors. And when she did, David and I were just starting Pinocchio's up, and she gave us lighting equipment and sound equipment and chairs and all kinds of stuff that she didn't have any place to put it. She was just moving out of it. And then her health deteriorated. And they called me about 2 weeks ago and told me she'd passed away. But she was a real go-getter and very big on Puppeteers of America. And she'd worked with Frank Ballard out of Connecticut and taken she was one of his students. And she learned from Frank. In fact, I have a